Linked, in a way linked to this, is the next statistic. South Africa has one of the highest rates of absent fathers in sub-Saharan Africa. Zoheb Khan, who is a researcher at the Center for Social Development in Africa, which is based at the University of Johannesburg, says as many as 60% of all children under the age of 10 don't live with their biological fathers here in South Africa. Now he's in studio to talk to us about this a little bit further. Very good morning to you, Zoheb. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, thanks for having me.
It's interesting research that you're doing on this phenomenon, because some experts believe that much of our social ills are because so few of our children, especially boys, have father figures that they grow up with. Is that your view as well?
I mean, we know that it certainly does contribute to social problems. So there's a massive volume of research that's been done in South Africa, but around the world as well, which looks at the impacts of the abandonment of children by their fathers. And we know that they are more likely to have lower self-esteem, to underperform in school or drop out, and also to be more susceptible to teenage pregnancy, gangsterism and drug abuse as well.
Explain to me what is an absent father, and then also tell me, how did you go about compiling the research?
Okay, so there are several definitions. So one that we used in our research defined an absent father as one who does not see or communicate with his child on a regular basis, and makes financial contributions infrequently, if at all.
Yeah.
Another definition is, relates entirely to physical absence. So this is, does the father live with his kids? And by that measure, that was the statistic that you mentioned just now, of up to 60%.
So 60% of kids under 10 years old don't have a father figure in their life at all?
No, so that statistic is saying that up to 60% of South African children don't live with their biological fathers.
So they don't have a father in the house?
Yes.
Ah.
So some of them might be contributing financially, but even in those cases, we can think of absence more broadly. So we know that fathers can be emotionally absent, and also in cases of physical presence, where a general pattern in South Africa, but elsewhere as well, is that fathers make minimal contributions to unpaid care and household work, which is done.
You're talking about the ATM father. That's a known phenomenon, the father who just makes contributions and is not there. How does that play out in the research and in a child's life?
Okay, so the first research study we did related to absent fathers was back in 2013, and here we were looking at men who were absent by the first definition that I gave. Yeah. And we wanted to find the reasons for this absence. And it's the research shows that it's driven by 4 sets of factors, which are historical, economic, social, and cultural. So historically, we had the system of migrant labor, which established a pattern of non-residence of fathers with their families, and that's a pattern that has been... So that's
the historic part?
Yes, and it established this norm, which continues to this day. Economically, we have widespread poverty and unemployment, and this leaves many fathers unable to support their families financially. And this interacts with social norms relating to male and female responsibility. So, I mean, it's widely understood that fathers are responsible solely for financial provision. And so when there is this inability to meet that role, many men believe that there is nothing else for them to do in the household family context, and this leads to abandonment. And then finally, just culturally, we see that for lobola and damages for impregnation, these often represent exorbitant sums of money which many men are unable to pay, and this can lead to access to children being denied.
You talk about one-off payments. We've just been dealing with teenage pregnancies in school and teachers impregnating young girls, and these young schoolgirls paying fines to the families. Is that a real problem in South Africa that adds to this?
So, I mean, we see it in our research with absent fathers that some of them do say that a reason for their absence is that these cultural practices about payment, the dowry and damages which they are unable to pay, and that can lead to access being denied.
To wrap it up, of course, in the end, it's the life of the child that's really affected, and those children become members of the society, and society is affected for that matter. How does this chain of events, how does it play out?
Just in the kinds of impacts that I mentioned previously. So just we know that there are these impacts developmentally for children who've been abandoned. And I just wanted to say that in addition to research on absent fathers, we are also doing research on present fathers.
Yeah.
So it's men that live in similar kinds of circumstances of either in low-paying jobs or unemployed, and find it difficult to meet that role of financial provision. But what keeps these men involved is a broader conception of parental responsibility. Yeah. So they see it as important that they are emotionally available, but also they assume responsibility for care and household works, things like cooking, cleaning, laundry, ironing. So these are the kinds of things that commonly are seen as being unmanly. Yeah. And so in this study with present fathers, we see that there is an ability to withstand this kind of social pressure and this idea of what a father is supposed to be.
So it has a positive effect on the life of the child?
Yes, certainly.
Wow. Interesting. Zoheb Khan, I'm going to bring you back because I think this is something that we have to address collectively in South Africa, and we need to talk a lot about the research that you are doing. Very interesting research.
Thank you.
Yes, as many as 60% of children under the age of 10 years old don't live with a father in the house. Yes, you might be playing ATM, but it's not enough. And if you don't have money, don't run away, he says. Stay there and wash your children's clothes if you have to. Do the things. Be there. Be around. It makes a big difference, not just to the child's life, but in the end, to society in general. Thanks, Zoheb. Thanks for being here today. We're going to take a little break here on the Newsroom show. It's been weighty subject matter this morning. After a short little break, Kendall will give you a sports roundup and talk Champions League. Yeah, it kicked off with a lot of goals last night. Don't miss it.